when we have our own kids, we're all kind of at a crossroads. Do I repeat what I learned growing up? What do I want to continue on with? And what do I really want to break? I'm really honored to be one of many people bringing this kind of information to the forefront and trying to make it mainstream so that we all see parenting as really an opportunity to heal and change the world.
You're listening to episode 112 of the MomTalks with Christa podcast. Thanks for joining me this week, guys. I hope you have a great week so far and had a great holiday with your family and friends. I can't believe it's already here and gone. Of course, I record these a week before, so I always have to kind of get my mind onto like what's coming up, what's, in the coming weeks and all that. So to share a little bit more about kind of what's going on with me and my pregnancy, I am 28 weeks as of today, as of recording. That means I'm officially in my third trimester, which is totally crazy to think about. When you first find out you're pregnant, and I'm sure a lot of you guys listening to this can relate, you're like, oh, I've got 9 months. I've got so much time. There's lots to do, but I've got time. I can spread it out. And it goes by so fast. It's really crazy to think about. So if I have any tips for anyone, it's start planning earlier than you think for everything. Like if it feels like it's too early, it's probably right on time. Because I remember when we started planning the nursery, which I'm actually sitting in right now, at first people were like, you're already planning that? Or like kind of just not like in any like negative or rude way. They were just like, oh, wow, you really have it all planned out. I'm like, because I know how life gets. Things just come up. You have a really busy month or you have time where you just can't think about it at all. And so I started kind of planning out this room because it was my office. It was our workout place. So we were like, we need to start planning ahead of where we're going to move things, how we're going to reorganize, where we're going to put things in this room. And I'm so glad we did. I'm hoping to have most everything done by the end of this month. And like at least like all the furniture and where things should go. And then after the shower in January, we'll probably have like the final touches and stuff. Just because, yeah, like I said, like last minute things always come up. You lose track of time sometimes. And your second trimester, as everyone's telling me, is like you're going to feel the best. You have the most energy. You can still move around a lot for the most part, depending on how you're carrying and, your pregnancy and how it's going and everything. And so for me, like I had more energy, I was more focused. So we did like the wallpaper. I think we did maybe for 5 months, maybe. I don't know. I kind of lost track of time. I just feel like I didn't really have any like aches or pains really then either. So it was just really great to just get everything done. My husband helped, put everything kind of where it belongs. So I don't have to carry like the big stuff, but I'm someone that likes to like reorganize and move stuff around. So I feel so much more relaxed knowing that a lot of it is done. And then third trimester, I'm going to focus more on, preparing for birth and kind of getting like in the right mental headspace. Because if there's anything I've learned from doing this show so long, it's like we have the power to be empowered in our birth, in motherhood journey, labor and delivery, breastfeeding. And there's so much education out there. And I'm such a planner. If you guys can't tell or don't know already, I'm such a planner that knowing now that I have time to get empowered in my birth and understand a little bit more about what's important to me in this birth and the choices I can make when it comes to this labor, I'm excited for that. And so kind of like what I've been doing right now in order to prepare for it. So last week, my husband and I officially hired a doula for our birth, and I'm so excited for that. She's amazing, and I really just felt connected to her right away. We interviewed a few, and so she's going to be there for the whole labor and delivery. She's going to be checking in at each doctor's appointments from here on out. So that's one thing I'm doing. And then I'm also doing the mommy labor nurse course, which is the natural labor. She has 3 different ones. She has an epidural one, natural labor, I think a C-section one. This is in no way sponsored by her course. We've just been friends since I started at Mommy Knows Best, actually, like over 4 years ago now. She's one of the first connections I made. And I always knew after talking to her, I was like, when I'm pregnant with my first baby, I am going to use her course. I just always knew I was going to because she's so knowledgeable. The way she shares her information is just so great. I'm only about 15% done with the course, but I've really enjoyed it and I've learned so much already that I just highly encourage anyone, whether it's that course or one at your local hospital or one through a friend, just get educated and find out what makes sense to you and what is important to you, because there's going to be so many voices coming from different ways saying like, you should do this, don't do that, and trying to control what you're doing. But the only way you're going to really feel empowered in your birth journey and pregnancy is if you're an advocate for yourself and you're standing up for things that you truly believe in, not what someone tells you should believe in. That's like my little soapbox today. That's I'll get off my soapbox, but I just think it's so important. That's one of the things that we really talk about a lot here at Mommy Knows Best. So yeah, it's really important to me. Okay, next on that, this is the last week to join our baby registry giveaway. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out our Instagram, Facebook, or our Facebook group. It is pinned at the top so you can see the image and all the details there. Basically, we are picking 4 winners during the month of December. We've already picked our first 3. So we got one more that we're announcing Monday, January 2nd. We are, as long as you share your baby registry link with us, and a screenshot showing that you registered for something from Mommy Knows Best, you are entered. That's all you have to do. The winner will get 1 item off their registry, up to $50, plus the Mommy Knows Best item sent to them. So it's just been a fun way to kind of give back to you guys, say thank you for being a part of our community, and we want to just give back during the holiday season and hopefully take away some stress as well, something off your registry. So yeah, like I said, we have it pinned to the top of our Instagram and our Facebook group. So go ahead and check it out there. And we put all the links as well in the show notes so you can easily find it as well. And if you're not currently pregnant or you don't have a registry, please share it with a mom friend or tag a mom friend that is currently pregnant. And we'd love to include them in the giveaway. Okay, 2 more things, and then we'll get on to today's episode. So some deals that are going on through the end of the month. Get $4 off our mini lactation cookies. These are just, people are loving these cookies. I'm not going to lie, they're in my kitchen right now. And when I want a little snack, I will go in there and get some cookies. So they're just such a good little cookie. And I've even caught my husband eating them too. So just putting that out there. And the other deal we have during the month of December is get a free nipple cream with any supplement purchase on Amazon as well. These are both deals on Amazon. This is all while supplies last and through the end of December. So you got a couple more days that you can do this, and then these deals are over. Okay, all the links are in the show notes. That's all I got for this week. On to today's interview, I have Bryana from Conscious Mommy. She is a family therapist, perinatal mental health specialist, and infant mental health specialist. I truly, truly enjoy talking with her. Oh my gosh, she's so smart. She has all these great tips and ideas. And I just think so many moms will benefit or find something from this that they are going to take away from the episode to apply to their own life, to their own parenting journey. I just noticed like a light streak around my face here. And I know I'm going to be taking stuff from me when my baby comes. And check out her page too. She has the most amazing reels where you actually really learn something from it. And you're like, whoa, like kind of makes your brain kind of, wow, like that's amazing. I want to start, implementing this in my life. So here it is. Enjoy the episode. And of course, stick around at the end for our MomTales of the week. We got a good question for you. All right, guys, today I'm so excited because we have Bryana from Conscious Mommy on the podcast. We had such a great conversation about conscious parenting and how you can be a more conscious parent and what it means in general. So many parents have questions about what it means and how they can kind of start veering that way. She talks about the importance of setting boundaries versus punishment. And this one really made my head just like, whoa, this was just such an amazing topic that she covered. And it made so much sense when she said it. But because a lot of times our generation saw punishment as a way to teach lessons, it's so unheard of. And so if you have questions about it, where you're in a trying time with your toddlers or young kids, this is the perfect episode for you. We also talk about childhood anxieties you might see, like fear of losing a parent, fear of being labeled good or bad, and then how they can manifest in your adult years. I cannot say enough great things about this episode. So without further ado, here's my interview with Bryana. Enjoy. I mean, we get so many questions in our audience, and I think this will just be a great topic to cover. I see your videos all the time, and they're just so helpful. And so I just want more people to be aware of conscious parenting. And I know we're going to get into what conscious parenting is, but first, can you just tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll kind of get into it.
Sure. Well, I'm Bryana Kappadakunnel, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in California. I'm also endorsed as an infant, family, and early childhood mental health specialist, as well as a perinatal mental health specialist. So my practice with families has really been exclusive to new moms, new parents, and very young children up through the age of 5. And that, is a bit of a heart calling for me. Some things in my own life growing up, having grown up in, violent, chaotic, turbulent home, with a complicated relationship with my own mother, really drove me to be interested and now fully invested in working with the child parent relationship, because I really believe that the relationship that gets settled in the first 5 years, especially, but perhaps even the first 10 years, really sets the stage for how we expect the world to be on a relational level. If we grow up feeling safe and seen and heard and understood, we are going to go out into the world believing that this is what we can expect from the world, and this is also what I can give to the people in my life and to others in the world. And when we grow up without that, when we grow up in an environment where we are hurt or harmed physically or emotionally or psychologically, when we're not seen, when we are not understood, we're routinely, repressed or rejected, denied, dismissed. We really go out into the world just simply expecting that that's what the world is going to be. And then when we have our own kids, we're all kind of at a crossroads. Do I repeat what I learned growing up? What do I want to continue on with, and what do I really want to break? And so I think my community with Conscious Mommy, as well as the families that I work with individually, are really invested in being cycle breakers. And I'm really honored to be one of many people bringing this kind of information to the forefront and trying to make it mainstream so that we all see parenting as really an opportunity to heal and change the world.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, you just encapsulated it so well about how we can kind of ask ourselves those questions of, what about my childhood do I maybe not want to repeat for the future generation? Or what do I kind of want to look inward and kind of figure out is maybe causing chaos or certain feelings? So,
Mhm.
what are kind of the first steps? So, if someone's listening and they're like I kind of want to be more conscious in my parenting, what are kind of the first steps that we can be more conscious and ask ourselves those questions?
That's a really good question. And I think a lot of people think about conscious parenting as something that they do for the child. And I like to tell parents that in the beginning, it isn't about what you're doing for the child, it's actually what you're doing for yourself and for the child within you. Because when we can better understand, first of all, our lives and the experiences that we had, and we can understand them from a place of nuance. So I'm not one of those people that, never talk to your parents again, they're evil, they're bad. No, not at all. I really see people in very complex, nuanced people. And even our parents, even if they were emotionally immature, even if they were harmful, they were doing the best that they could. For example, a story that I tell often is this mother that I was working with a long time ago. I used to do therapy for unhoused families on a bus in Long Beach.
Mhm.
And this one mother and daughter that just really struck me and really were deep, deep in my heart. And I worked with them for a while. And one time I asked the mother, tell me an example or an experience that you had where you really felt your own mother's love, like you really felt like she really loved you and supported you and cared for you. And she goes, well, I remember when I was 12 years old and I was just in so much pain, and I was suffering so much, and my mom gave me my first marijuana joint, and she was right. It took away the pain.
Mm,
And of course, it was very shocking to hear that, but I just feel like that story really encapsulates the nuance. While I don't agree that we should be giving our children drugs ever, I do understand why this mother and the point in her life saw that moment as a real moment of love and connection in a sea of moments of disconnection and pain and abuse and neglect and all kinds of other traumatic things that were happening for this particular mother. And so I invite parents to start with that. Think about that. Where, what situations in my life were painful? What were the ghosts growing up? The things that still come to haunt me now? And then what were the positive experiences or positive people, positive influences in my life that really gave me hope, that showed me I can believe in myself, that taught me how to trust, that
mm,
taught me how to feel safe in my body and how to feel safe with other people. If we allow ourselves to kind of be open to this more nuanced look, I think it allows us to extend a lot of grace and compassion for everybody involved, for our parents, for ourselves. We blame people less. We hold people accountable, hold ourselves accountable for our own actions and behaviors, and we can do that without shame and blame. So you, even just in how I'm talking about it, gosh, I could break down every little bullet point that I'm giving you because there's really just so much to be expanded on each one.
mhm,
It gives you an overview or an idea of where parents can really start. It's really a reflective process. We have to really get in touch with who we are in our core. If we want to be able to accept the child for who they are, not who I believe you should be, or who I believe I'm raising you to be, or who I expect you to be, but for who it is you truly are, we cannot be afraid to look within and find that in our own selves.
mm. Yeah, wow. I love that. I think a lot of times we think that parenting, is about telling the child what to do and not so much understanding ourselves and kind of allowing that to kind of be what's leading us in a way. And we kind of talk about like inner child work. How can we kind of parent ourselves then, or kind of get to that point where we accept ourselves and then, going into our child accepting who they are and embracing who they are without, I'm trying to like word this the right way, but like, because you want to parent the child still, but like, how can we embrace them without overstepping so much that we're trying to control or change who they are?
That's so beautiful. I love that question. It's really two part. The first part is the reparenting, but often what happens is the child triggers us and shows us in that very moment, oh my gosh, this is an area of my life that is unhealed. And my sweet child being in their innocence, as they are screaming and yelling about bread and toys or whatever the issue might be. That was just my morning before I got on the call. So my child is doing what the child does, and yet it elicits something very strongly within me. Now it's my work. My job is not to silence my child. My job is to first be aware of, well, what exactly is this about for me? Why is it so triggering that my child keeps repeating the same thing over and over and over again? And I keep having the same conversation with my child over and over and over again, and something isn't clicking. What is that about? If you have a 4-year-old, you know exactly what I'm talking about, a 3 or a 4-year-old. This is what dialoguing with 3 and 4-year-olds is about. And yet so many of us are triggered by it. Why are we triggered by it? Probably because we had parents who shut us down. Probably
Mm,
had parents who did not engage, or who, after 1 or 2 times, shamed us, told us we were perhaps stupid for not remembering, or I'm not going to continue to talk with you if you keep talking like this. So in a controlling way, our parents tried to silence us. I'm not saying for sure, I'm just saying it's something to be curious about and to wonder about. So when we get curious about the trigger, I wonder, I'm feeling really triggered by this because, and then we start to break it down. Here's why I feel triggered. Oftentimes it boils down to some primary inner child wounds that many of us carry. These are going to be the wounds around losing somebody, losing somebody's love, feeling like I'm not good, or feeling like I'm a bad kid, believing I'm not worthy, believing I need to be perfect to be lovable. I'm unacceptable. People cannot tolerate me when I'm feeling strongly, so I need to be small in order to be pleasing. There's lots of different kinds of narratives that we probably most likely developed in these early years as a result to how our parents and how the important people in our lives responded to our typical normal developmental issues. So
Mm-hmm.
notice, yes, the child is eliciting the work within us.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we say in conscious parenting, the child is the teacher. The child is teaching you what it is that you need to work on within yourself. And then you make sense of that. And it truly is the making sense of it. I think a lot of the times when we talk about inner child healing, people are like, is it like a pill? Is it a salve? Is it some magical solution that happens? Then my inner child is healed? No, it's really more like in this moment, I am bringing context and meaning to why I'm reacting the way that I am. And it's almost like instead of meeting that with that guilt and shame voice, well, I guess I am bad because I can't tolerate my child's questions. Or shut the F up, child, I can't stand you. And then licking our wounds, what a terrible mother I am. I can't believe that I don't want to have conversations with my child, right? All that negative, guilt laden, shame based kind of conversation. Instead of having that internal dialogue, I'm instead meeting that part of me that is wounded. Wow, it's really difficult to sit and listen to this. I wonder if it's because I didn't have somebody who sat and listened to me, and
Mm-hmm.
now I just don't have enough reservoir for it. Have I been taking good care of myself? How long have I been having this conversation with the child today? Have I had enough water? Have I had enough coffee today? Do I need some outside time to be able to get my body regulated? What do I need to be able to feel more grounded and to feel present and to feel less judgmental and to really meet myself with love and compassion? We fill that, it then allows me to overflow with love and grace and compassion to my child. I'm empty, I'm drained, I'm going to be empty and drained in response to my child. Most people want the interventions for doing for the child first, and I'm like, but you're too empty and drained to be able to give to the child the way that I know you desire to. You're simply too drained. We have to fill you up first. That's what we call in infant mental health the parallel process. The therapist comes in, fills up the parent, and the parent then full has so much left to give, then she or he gives it into the child organically. It organically flows from the parent because the parent is full. And that is really, if I had to sum up conscious parenting, I would say that is the primary goal of conscious parenting, to fill parents up as much as we can, help them be more present, help them be in the here and now, help them feel grounded in love and compassion and self-understanding so that they can organically give that to the child.
Wow. That was so beautifully said. My mind's like blown because it kind of just all um kind of connects. Like I'm thinking about my own life and stuff. So when we talk too about like kids maybe misbehaving or acting out a certain way that might trigger us, you talk more about setting more boundaries versus punishment.
Right.
And I thought this was so interesting. So, well, first, what does that mean? And then second, why should parents opt for setting boundaries instead of punishments? What's kind of each side of it?
Well, let me tell you a story because something happened this morning. My 19-month-old was upset because I don't know, he wanted something off the counter. And I went to go pick him up and give him a hug. And so what did he do? He started trying to scratch me and swat it at my face a few times. Traditional parenting is all about punishments. No, hitting is bad. Go into the chair. And when your body, go in the chair and think about what you did. He's 19 months, so maybe we give him 1 minute in the chair, 1 minute in the chair. So I am giving a punitive response to the child, saying, you are not able to communicate effectively to me, and so I'm going to disconnect from you. Now, we're aware of what is happening for a child this age. We're really strongly, this young children this age are feeling the fear of losing a parent. So when I am separating that child, I'm actually activating all that fear circuitry in the child's brain, saying, yes, you will lose me. You will not when you need me. So when you're acting big and strong and you actually need me in those moments, I'm not going to give it to you, because you only are going to get me on a conditional level. You're only going to get me when you're behaving in the ways that I expect you to behave. Now, this creates a very complicated, issue for a young child, because children they're not very good at trying to guess how we might react. So they'll take many different kinds of stabs at it, hoping that they get it right. But there's going to be a lot of inconsistencies, because now it's not about, I need my adult to help me get my needs met. Now it's, I have to behave in the right way, even though I don't actually know what that is. And I don't actually have the impulse control and the mature brain to be able to anticipate what that might be. And now we're going to be constantly set up for failure. So that's the concept of punishment. It's meant to be punitive, inflict pain, inflict harm. And from a traditional lens, the idea is, well, it helps extinguish the behavior. If you punish a child for hitting you in the face or for scratching you in the face, then the child will never hit or scratch again. And I'm like, have you ever been around children? That does not actually stop the behavior at all. Children will still hit and scratch again. And then the traditional parenting, paradigms will say, well, then you need to hit them harder, or you need to punish them longer, or you need to take something away. And what does it feed? It feeds power struggles between children and parents. It teaches children to fear their parents. And then we're surprised when teenagers lock themselves in the room and keep scary, dark secrets from parents and don't come to parents for comfort in times that are really serious and crisis times, when they actually need parents. Because we taught them very early on, I will not be available for you when you're struggling, when things are hard. This is why I'm anti-punishment. And to be honest, I'm pretty anti-punishment across the board. Even in practically all aspects of life, I do not see punishment being healthy or even helpful. I believe in restorative justice. And so I take a restorative justice approach, even in the home. And that's where I believe boundaries are different. So here's what I did. My child slapped me in my face. I turned his body around so that his hands were no longer available for me. And I held his arms, and I was very slow, and I was very intentional in my movement, because I want to make sure that my anxiety is not feeding into what's going on for him and then exacerbating the stress that he is clearly feeling. So what I did was very slowly held his arms in a loving way. I'm not holding them in any kind of harsh way. I'm not pinching him. I'm not doing anything that could be physically harmful to him. And I sat down in the chair and I put him in his lap and I whispered into his ear, I cannot let you hit. And then he started to cry and cry, and his body got softer and he melted more into me. I said, I know, baby. This is very, very hard. You want something. It's important to you. Still, I cannot let you hit. Less than 30 seconds later, he turned around, gave me a great big hug, gave me a kiss on my cheek, crawled off my lap, and went on and moved on with whatever it was. It was no longer an issue. The whole thing on the counter, no longer an issue. That was the bound. My limit was very clear. I can't let you do this. And I communicated it in a way that was soothing to his nervous system, not further activating his nervous system. These are healthy boundaries. I'm not just going to let my kids slap me in my face because I'm being a conscious parent and letting my kid do whatever they want. That's not conscious parenting. That is permissive parenting. Conscious parenting takes into account the thoughts, feelings, and needs of everybody involved in the system. Everybody, parents included. Hitting is not acceptable. It's not an acceptable way to communicate your feelings. Certainly not with me, certainly not somebody who is highly triggered by being hit in the face. And I've had to do about 18 years of therapy and counting to be able to keep myself grounded in the moment of being struck in this way, and to not make it about him hitting me, and really make it about me being clear with him what my body boundaries are. And so when I set boundaries in this way, what I'm doing is I'm teaching my children and everybody who I set a boundary with, this is how we get to be in relationship together. This is how we get to feel safe together. This is how you get to be safe with me. And this is how I get to be safe with you. Because at the end of the day, what all human beings are really seeking is connection and relational safety.
Mhm.
That's all we want. It's like so insanely simple what
Mhm.
human beings want. Love me, understand me, see me, hear me, and keep me safe. That's it. And boundaries really facilitate that and allow us to communicate that so clearly. Punishments do not actually communicate that, because we have to activate the fear circuits in the child's brain, which is going to automatically make the child feel unsafe in order to communicate whatever it is that we want them to do. So that's really my big explanation of the difference between boundaries and punishment. And I believe all healthy families and all healthy relationships have boundaries. And I believe that most dysfunctional families rely on punitive punishments to be able to gain some kind of order, compliance, and control in the house.
Wow. Yeah. And it's like, and it's when you say that, it's like, wow, like it makes so much sense. And it's like our generation growing up was so big on punishment, time out and go to your room, don't eat, that whole thing. And the way you just say that is so like, when kids act out, they tend to be, needing you even more in that moment. So the way you really set that boundary is so, wow, my mind's just blown. Yeah, amazing what you said. And you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but you talk about childhood anxieties and how they can manifest in adulthood. So the one is fear of losing a parent. And so you kind of talked about that, that's the punishment aspect of it. So how can that kind of manifest into adulthood? And the other one you talk about calling a child good versus bad and how that can kind of manifest. Can you talk more on that?
Absolutely. So this is based off the work of Alicia Lieberman and Patricia Van Horn. And so in their research of infants and toddlers, what they discovered was that there are what they call salient anxieties, but for the general public, I just call it developmental anxieties because it's a lot easier to understand. We understand the developmental anxiety of separation anxiety. We understand fear of the dark, right? We understand that there are certain kinds of anxieties that develop in childhood simply because of the way their brain is developing and how they're understanding the world around them. Well, we have developmental psychological anxieties as well. So the first one obviously is going to be the fear of annihilation, so the fear of death, which makes perfect sense. Most of us continue on with that anxiety, but when you have a parent who is really responsive and supportive and helps to really nurture you, I would say beyond just survival, but really helps your body feel safe and connected and you can thrive, then maybe that's not such a pronounced fear that you walk around with. And then you've got the fear of losing a body part. So we see children very afraid of, letting go of their poops. We see
Mm.
children afraid of watching their own poop go down into the potty because that's my poop. That's a part of my body. And I'm saying goodbye to this thing that's a part of my body. Very confusing feeling. But then we see children start to resolve it, obviously, because they become less and less afraid of that. And then we see that fear of losing a parent, which, a parent actually physically leaving them in times of stress is one, manifestation of that, which when we become adults, that could be abandonment. The fear that, like, I'm going to have to cling and cling and cling to keep somebody close because otherwise they will leave me. So when that fear is not really resolved, we do tend to see a bit more clingy behaviors in adults, maybe even avoidant behaviors as well. I don't need anybody. They're going to leave me anyway, so I might as well not have anybody near me. And then you've got that fear of losing a parent's love. So when the child, whether or not the child resolves that the parent will still be there for me, that fear of losing a parent's love is a really big one. And that kind of touches to what I was talking about, that conditional the conditional response that so many of us were raised with. And honestly, like if your parents didn't hit you and their primary response was timeouts and go to the corner, they were breaking cycles. Because I can guarantee you, your parents were like probably hit a number of times, whether it was in school, at home, whatever.
Mhm.
So but even still, like we've evolved to really see those techniques as ways of behavioral based ways to condition children. You do not get my love, you do not get my attention, you do not get the primary needs of connection, which is a basic need, Krista. We
Mhm.
So many of us are conditioned to see the need for connection as this like bad thing. Don't you give her any attention, she's just doing that for attention, she's
Mhm.
just needy, right? And so we kind of have it in our mind that it's a bad thing, but I really see connection as fundamental as food, water, shelter, safety. It is literally as fundamental as that. So when we get that conditional experience and it's repeated, it's the rule, not the exception. We're getting it over and over and over and over again. We might grow up to be adults who feel like I have to be this perfect, never rock the boat, always anticipate the thoughts, feelings, and needs of others so that I can get the love. Because otherwise, if I don't get the love, then I'm not going to survive. Remember, love is foundational to our survival. And then that fifth one, many of us go into this fifth developmental anxiety in deficit because somewhere along the lines, most of us had our needs not really fully met. And that fifth one is the fear of being bad. And this is the one that I see most people are completely arrested in. Most people, when they make a mistake, immediately go into what a failure they are, how terrible they are. If they even sense as adults for a second that somebody disapproves of them or somebody is disappointed in them, they will immediately go into, wow, what an F up I am, what a mess up I am. Nobody is going to want me. I'm so bad. And then they might engage in punishing behaviors because that's what we learned. Punishing behaviors could be restricting food, overeating, alcohol, drug abuse, etc. So we really internalize the oppressor and the punishing ideas when these stages of our psychological development were not resolved. And I see so many parents punishing themselves. I really do. I see them punishing themselves for yelling at their kids instead of meeting themselves with grace and compassion and understanding, and even curiosity of why you're yelling. Why are you so triggered? What is this about for you? We're not really wired to meet ourselves with that grace and compassion. So why would we feel like that's going to be natural and intuitive to do to the child? We
Mhm.
have to really work through these and heal these fears through the work, through the reflective process, which is what I primarily teach in all of my avenues of wherever you connect with me, whether it's on Instagram, in my online school, conscious parenting coaching, or even just through my newsletter. I'm constantly reiterating the message that we need to do for ourselves, and we need to do this work consistently for ourselves so that we can show up consistently for our kids in the way we want to.
Wow, that's going to hit a chord, I feel like, with so many moms listening. I know we have a lot of like people pleasing moms, and what you're kind of just talking about of making sure, we're good all the time and we don't want to let people down and we're worried. I know I resonate with that. I'm not sure exactly where that comes from, but I know a lot of the moms that when we've talked about this topic before, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm a people pleaser. And then when I do something, and it's not perfect for my kids, I'm immediately down on myself. And so I think what you just said will speak to so many moms listening.
Great. I'm so glad.
Yeah. And so if someone's listening and they find themselves using like, oh, good and bad, like how can we kind of evolve from that? What words can we use instead? Or how can we, or actions can we use instead, for our kids to kind of know maybe how how things should be kind of not labeled, but how they should kind of act certain ways.
Yeah, it's the boundaries, right? So instead of no, hitting is bad, or no, pushing is bad. It's not a that was wrong that you threw that toy at your brother, right? Instead
Mm,
of meeting our child there, I can't let you hit. Can't let you push, sweetheart. I cannot let you throw. We need to find another way to express ourselves. The child's going to put their head down and they're going to ask, they're going to wonder, am I a bad kid? They might say it out loud, but you might just see it in their face and you let them know you're always a good kid. There
mm,
isn't anything you can do that would take my love away from you. You're always a good kid to me. You're a wonderful child. And part of my job is to help you learn to control your body, especially in times when you're feeling really big and strong inside. That's what I'm doing to help you.
mm. I love
It's
that.
really that simple. But that voice, that gentleness comes from a place of being able to be gentle with yourself. I can't reiterate it enough. We have to learn to be more gentle with ourselves as parents if we want to really find that gentleness with the children.
Mhm. Amazing. I'm sure there's so many parents that are like, I have so many questions. I want to learn more. And so tell us about your course you have called Becoming the Conscious Parent You Never Had.
Yes, so that's my flagship program. I offer it live twice a year. Cohort 1, the recordings are up. I'll be doing cohort 2 sometime here in the fall. But what it is, it's an 8-week program that is 8 primary foundational steps. So it's my framework toward really becoming the conscious parent that you never had. There is so much support and guidance on being able to regulate ourselves better, understand ourselves better, break dysfunctional family patterns, heal our inner child, evaluate our expectations, take a look at our thought patterns, our automatic thought patterns, as well as our automatic behaviors, so we can really start actually making the cognitive and behavioral shifts and changes that we want to be making. And then the last 3 weeks are focused on boundaries, discipline, and communication. So it's really created in such a beautiful way because I am actively leading you in doing your work first. And then that is what allows you to spill over into the work that you do with your children. So it's a wonderful
Love
program.
that. I love that. I think a lot of times we almost do things backwards, or before we're kind of figuring ourselves out, we're so quick to either do what we've been taught, like you were kind of talking about, or go solely based on our triggers. So I think that's beautiful. Yeah, if you send us the links, we'll put all the links to how people can access your course and all that good stuff. So I'd like to end these with a fun thinking question. If you could have a billboard made today where you could share one tip with moms everywhere, what would you have it say?
Oh my goodness. Does it need to be fun or does it need to be serious?
Whatever you're feeling right now is perfect.
Okay, I'm going to say you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's what it would say. Hey, mama,
Mm,
make sure you check yourself before you wreck yourself.
love it. I think that's
Mhm.
perfect with everything we've talked about today. And then, of course, where can everyone follow you, find all your courses and anything else you have to share? Because I know I talked about it briefly earlier, but you have some most amazing reels covering so many different topics that I think so many parents would find beneficial.
Thank you. So you can obviously find me on Instagram and TikTok at Conscious Mommy. I also have now a paid subscription on Instagram for even more exclusive content. I have my online school, which you can find all of that information at learning.consciousmommy.com. Lots of different kinds of classes, consciously managing meltdowns, let go of your triggers, let go of your inner control freak. I have a couple new ones coming up in the fall. My recent one, which was extremely popular, consciously raising siblings or raising conscious siblings, I think it was, that has to do when you have more than one child, as well as becoming the conscious parent you never had. And then I also offer individual coaching. If you have a specific issue and you just need a handful of sessions to be able to help think through and implement some of the things that we talked about today and what I talk about in my work. And all of that information can be found at consciousmommy.com.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Bryana. Like I said, this topic was amazing. I feel like could talk to you forever. These are just such important topics. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Bryana from Conscious Mommy. Please go check out her Instagram. I'm sure everyone will find something beneficial from what she shares. It just kind of makes you look at parenting, relationships, how we treat ourselves, how we treat our kids in just such a different way. So I know I just truly enjoyed having her come on. She's got such amazing content. All right, guys, it's time for our Mom Tales of the week. And this week with, holidays, I guess we're still kind of in the holiday season. We still got New Year's coming, but with, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa all just passing us, we want to do one that was focused on asking your kids right now what they want for Christmas and tell us exactly what they say right here. So this was a fun one. First one says presents. She's 2.5. This next one says my 3-year-old. Thomas trains and flip racers. My 14-year-old. I don't know. My 15-year-old. Devastator or Grimlock Transformer. I don't know what those are. No, next one. I want dino toys. Dino drawing stuff. Dino little tiny toys. A Mosasaurus and pterodactyl and T-Rex. Oh, and an Angosaurus. All the dino toys that chomp and eat. Little T-Rex and big T-Rex. He's 4. This next one says, oh, I want a scooter. Can I get a scooter? I want it to light up. All right. I want to have makeup and do makeup. That kind of stuff I like. That kind of rhymed. I love this one. Santa already knows, so I'm not telling you. From my sassy 5-year-old. Hey, she's smart. Okay, this next one says, she can only say a few words, but is learning sign language. So this was interesting. She signed for milk. LOL, she'll be 1 in a week and a half-ish. Oh, that's why I love baby sign language, because they can communicate with you and tell you what they want. I think that's so cool. We just got of course, it's like behind me. We just got a baby sign language book, so I cannot wait to get into it. This last one, my child said Hanukkah. Mind you, we're not Jewish. All right, well, at least she's well-versed in other cultures and other religions. This last one. I want a baby. A baby is currently on the way. I love that. It kind of came when I wrote that idea out, it kind of reminded me of when there's like those surveys on Facebook that's like, ask your kid these questions and write their exact response. Like, how old is mom? What's mom's favorite thing to do? And all that. Like when I was a kid, we had to do a Father's Day gift and we had to fill out things about our dad. And the question was, what does my dad love to do the most? And I put that he loves to mow the lawn. And I remember at his birthday, I was so excited to give it to him. I gave it to my dad, and my siblings and my parents were dying laughing because they were like, oh yeah, he loves to mow the lawn. It's his favorite thing to do. But when you're a kid, you kind of view things differently. All right, that's all I got for this week. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And I will see you next week for a brand new episode. Hope you guys have a happy new year. So I guess I will see you in 2023. All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notified of future episodes. We release new episodes every single Wednesday. See you next week.